Loose Angel, I spotted you roaming Earth, looking out of place, like a mansion in the middle of a maldeveloped, less than middle-class neighborhood. Obviously, you were lost, so I called heaven and inquired if anyone had reported an angel missing. In a haste, heaven replied, "We did notice the air has been thinner here and it's been a little hard to breathe lately." I countered, "Well, I guess her absence and her presence is breathtaking." Heaven replied, the sun hadn't been smiling the same, and asked, "Were you able to get a good look at her?" I replied, "Indeed. I looked so hard she could have walked up my stairs."
She had the most promising views, beginning a college education at Case Western with a dream she was proud to pursue. Her family was in great health and no debt needed to be due. She had a boyfriend where she would always have to pull a trick out of her rear to keep him amused. But her selfless actions made her life have a different boil for her to brew, because the best and worst part of her living is when she was trying to save this man from his death. It wasn't intentionally done, it was just her natural reflex, always standing in when she sees someone needs help, when usually she thinks about things, but it all just happened so. She was the one who died. Not a moment of past lives flashing before her eyes. Not even a white light like how people describe, no familiar faces to greet her when she took her last breath. And a black room is where she sat. A glowing light reflecting off her silhouette, no harm done, so lonely comfort is somehow all she felt. Not realizing she's under surgery procedures. 8 hours of puzzle pieces to bring her back to her normal features. Her mother is in the background praying and pleading for her little girl to come back to where she's ultimately needed, but time's racing. People are pacing. To hear the final review of what's taking place, it's not looking good for her, doc said. After tomorrow, she might even be dead. On top of not possibly remembering who you are, her mother walked in with an army of preachers, each one carrying a cross, while she's still in this black space, wondering if the dim light that she's seeing will finally fade away, unable to move from this chair where she seemed to stay, patiently waiting for something to possibly take place. Then 4 weeks later, I opened my eyes and I was finally awake. I couldn't speak, so I started pulling tubes out my throat for me to breathe. Looking at red laser beams pointed and aiming at me, the doc came in saying, "You will be a vegetable and see, your right side won't be able to move voluntarily." I laughed, thinking you really don't even know me. Because that night I was racing through hallways trying to leave, 4 security guards running and finally catching up to me. Doc came to me the next day saying, "You've made a miraculous recovery." Poetry.